All right. Ooh.
How many shows today, dear? Whoa.
And plus, I'm trying to get some the caregivers for my dad. So
Sure.
in fact, I've got to call someone after I get off the air here, so I can
Mm-hmm.
get them over to see
Know
my
that
mother.
one. Yeah.
I know you do, so I can make
Mm-hmm.
sure that this is the. There we go. All
Okay.
right, now come on up. This is the right people. Right people. Okay, there we go. My angels. There we go.
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to wait for 15 seconds. We are at 10, 5. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Santita Jackson Show here on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It is a joy to be with you. Where did 2025 go? I don't know. But here we are at the end of the year. And I want us to, for the next few shows, review 2025. It has been an incredible year. An incredible year. What does that portend for 2026? Think about that, everybody. We have a Democratic socialist who is now going to be the mayor of the largest city in the country. New Yorkers did not care about his label, they wanted to know about his program. Party didn't matter to them, program mattered. What does he plan to deliver? And I promise you, New York and America, we're going to have to help him help us. That's the way it works in this constitutional republic that has these democratic leanings. You've got to get involved. But what about Gaza? We've been looking at Gaza, but now we have what President Lula da Silva, the popular president of Brazil, he said, America, if you keep going on this road with Venezuela, you're going to have another Vietnam on your hands.
Mm-hmm.
We're killing fishermen
Mm.
in boats, extrajudicial killings. We had the lawyer for Alejandro Carranza, Dan Kovalik, on the show last week. We're killing them. And he has filed a lawsuit on behalf of that family against our government, not to hurt the government, but to make it right. So think about that, everybody. Think about that. Uh, but also think about the gerrymandering of Texas. But did anyone count on Hispanic voters beginning to move back to the Democratic column? So those 5 seats that we think that we lost, they might not be lost after all. We just don't know. And there are 900,000 black and brown voters who are not registered to vote in Texas. And you need to check your registration wherever you are, because guess what? We're still being purged from the voter rolls. We just had Attorney Terry O'Neill, the president emeritus of NOW, who's in Nashville, Tennessee. 80,000 voters were purged from the voter rolls in Nashville alone last year.
Mm.
80,000, Livonia,
Mm-hmm.
Perryman, 80,000. That's a lot of people.
That's right. A lot of votes.
And so, what about affordability? What will happen when people watch these premiums explode in 2 weeks for
Mm-hmm.
your health insurance? Tens of millions of people. Congressman Jonathan Jackson was on the Keep Hope Alive show early this morning. His numbers show that 22 million families will be without health insurance as of January 1st. They have to make a decision. Do I pay my rent? Do I pay my mortgage? Do I get food, or do I get health insurance?
Mm-hmm.
And if you think the emergency rooms are crowded now, what do
Mm-hmm.
you think is going to happen then? Not to mention the fact that we're woefully under equipped to handle Americans who have a car accident. Think about it. There are 340 to 350 million Americans. 340 to 350 million Americans. How many hospital beds do you think we have, Reverend Dr. Hatch?
1 million.
Not even. Livonia?
500,000.
Well, somewhere between 920,000.
Mm-mm.
If we just had 1% of hospital beds guaranteed for Americans, that would be
Yes.
8.5 million beds.
Yes.
So, what does that say?
Mm.
What does that say? We're trying to figure out ways not to admit people into medical school. We're now saying that nurses are not professionals. Are you serious?
Right,
Doctors
right.
depend upon nurses. They're the ones who care for you. They're the ones who tell
Yeah,
the doctor, don't
right.
give them that medicine. That's not going to work for them.
Mm-mm.
Let's look at the chart together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, there's a lot to talk about, everybody. There's a lot, a lot, a lot. The Epstein files. Nothing was nothing was reacted. Why did they put Michael Jackson in that? Michael Jackson, people like Jeff Epstein take pictures with anyone who is famous. That's how that works. And the people who were redacted in that photo were his children.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He was not on the island. They heard that Michael Jackson was around and they took a picture. But
Mm-hmm.
Michael was alive. He showed up at my parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
There
Mm-hmm.
was almost a traffic jam at the main street,
Yeah.
Reverend Dr. Hatch, because there was a rumor that Michael Jackson was
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in the vicinity.
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
the biggest star in the world.
Yes.
So
Yes.
there is a lot to look at, a lot to talk about. But then there was a No Kings rallies. You got Indiana that said we will not be gerrymandered. I don't care what you say, Mr. President. And they're a Republican state, deep red state. There is so much that's going on, so much, and I want to hear from you. What are the stories or the issues that really jumped out at you in 2025? And we have got, of course, joining award winning journalist of print and television, and on the producer side, and Democratic strategist at Livonia Perryman, Reverend Dr. Marshall Hatch, the founder of the Ma'afa Redemption Project, the senior pastor of the new Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church here in Chicago, brilliant theologian, pastor. But we're joined by India Walton, former mayoral candidate. Who knows what else she's going to do up there in Buffalo, New York? You know, she shook the foundations of of Buffalo some years ago, and she has moved full scale into activism. But they will not let her alone. They want to know what is she going to do next, and that's what we want to know. That's why we had to come to Chicago, Livonia, for the convention. We said, no, 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 no.
Absolutely.
You need some sister girl encouragement. That's
Absolutely.
what
It
we're
was
going to
my
give.
pleasure meeting you. Absolutely.
But you know
Yeah.
what? Let's start with her right here
Yes.
because a veteran of Democratic campaigns on the local, state, and national levels, Livonia Perryman, um, and of course, Reverend Dr. Hatch has worked with Reverend Jackson for many, many, many years, for decades now, decades. We now have an autopsy: how Democrats lost the White House. Now, the Democrats do not want to examine this at all. In fact, they're going to throw it out. This is from Roots Action. The last autopsy that I read from them was applicable 4 years later. It's like if they had followed the findings of Roots Action, they could have won. As it was, Kamala Harris in 107 days was able to be within 1.5 million votes of the eventual winner. That's it. Not to mention the fact that 90 million Americans did not vote. Do you think that if Ruth's action, with the information that they found, do you think that if we found out some of the flaws that they saw, then maybe the Democrats would have a better than even chance of recapturing the White House and both houses of Congress and the 1,000 seats that we lost between 2008 and 2016? Could we get them back? And I'm just saying I'm talking about progressives, Democratic Socialists. You can be an independent if you want to create affordability, if you want Medicare for all, if you want to create a floor beneath which no human being should fall. I don't care what party you're in. I want the people to win. I'm not interested in a party winning. But because they're on the left side of the dial, but are they all Democrats? No. But Roots Action will work with you. They told President Biden, they said, you know what? You said you were going to be a transitional figure in 2022. I mean, when you ran in 2020. So in 2022, they said, look, this is what we need you to do. Don't run, Joe. You said you were going to be transitional. Be transitional, and let's have a full body primary so that we can get the strongest candidate and take this White House. They were called blasphemers. You remember that, Livonia. Everybody said, you must hate the Democrats. You aren't really Democrats. They said, what we want is a win. You don't understand. Um, President, former President Trump is still running for the White House. There are two White Houses, one in Washington and one in Florida.
Hmm.
If we don't seize the reins of power, he's going to go back to Washington. Wow, that's what happened. But there were several things that they saw as we look at the big stories. I think one of the big stories of 2025 is what happened in 2024. We're still talking about it. So, India Walton, why don't you give us a synopsis of this autopsy that Reverend Dr. Hatch and Lavonia Perryman, that the Democrats refuse to acknowledge or address?
Well, I think that Sister Nina Turner said it best. The coroner is the corpse. So the reason why this report is not being released is because the Democrats killed themselves. And you know, they don't want to admit that everything we warned them against would come to pass. And this autopsy report coming out of Roots Action is not as much of an after the fact, but it's proof that what we cautioned against, the lack of a populist message, the lack of an economic agenda that prioritized working class people, the lack of a free and open primary, Joe Biden staying around too long, Vice President Harris not separating herself enough from the current administration, ignoring the genocide in Gaza, like all of these things that we knew were issues that were sort of thrown back in our face. I mean, you know, Harris campaigned with Liz Cheney, right? Like that was the response to our cries for peace and an agenda that prioritized not killing innocent people. Um, so I mean, like everything that's in that report is pretty obvious. But again, you won't get that type of accountability from the Democratic establishment. And I think that's what people are rallying against right now.
So, was this formally presented to the Democratic National Committee? What happened, India?
You know, we've talked a lot about this, right? And I think that establishment Democrats spend more time fighting progressives than they do
Mm.
our real opposition. So I think, you know, what we're reading that comes out of the minds of the brilliant people at Roots Action who produced the autopsy report is probably very similar to what the Democrats found, but they'll never acknowledge that we were right, because for the sake of the enclosure of wealth and power, they won't admit it, because the power structure and the Democrats, and I think that I've said it many times on this program, are two sides of the same coin, right? Like Democrats are not fighting for working class people. They're fighting for the donor class. They're fighting for big money, big lobby, the millionaires, the billionaires. And they don't represent the majority of American people.
So, given the fact that this report is out there, what are the next steps? What do you think Roots Action can do, or should this report just languish, or uh, or should you try to get on as many platforms as you can to talk about it?
I want this report to spread far and wide. And one thing that I'm excited about, without giving too many details, is that moving into the new year, we really want to begin to support and focus on municipal level races. I think that it's great to get members in the halls of Congress and at the federal level, but I think that these fights are really becoming hometown fights on school boards and city councils and mayor's races in cities all across the country. And I think that the more progressives that we get elected, and the more we make this into a national conversation and not take it on a case by case basis, but really build a movement of working class people and make this, not as much about party and partisan politics, but about the proletariat and about the rise of working class people into positions of power and decision making, because ultimately that is what's gonna save this country.
Livonia, you are a veteran of Democratic politics. Wow. Reverend Jackson actually pulled her out of the, she was on the front side of the camera, as you can
Yes.
see that is where she would be. But he saw something else in her. He said, "No, I know you're beautiful.
Sure
Everybody
did.
knows that, but you're also brilliant." Livonia, the power is with the producer. Livonia, the power is in the editorial room. So I need what you need to do. Come over here. I need you to write this up, do this. And she was like, "Wait a minute." So she was working her job and working the campaign at the same time. Well, thank you, Livonia.
And
But
thank you. Thank the
don't thank
family of
me.
the Jacksons. Thank the Jackson family for allowing me in there. But I'm glad that we're having this discussion. It's so important as we close out the year and open up for a new year. One of the things I did read the synopsis of the report. A couple of things came to mind. That one, that my party, I'm gonna just be transparent, the Democratic Party, did not take the Arab American community serious. That's
You
number
think
one.
so? You
Remember
think
that
so?
during the primary, they showed us how they felt. During the primary on the local level, they expressed how they felt, and they showed us how they felt. I mean, in large numbers. I mean, even threw me off guard. Large numbers. They said, "Oh, you're not going to listen to us. Oh, you're not going to support us. Oh, you're not going to address our issues. Then watch this. We are not going to acknowledge you." They said it and they did it. Now, remember, we're talking about prior to Harris' election.
You mean the
So I'm
uncommitted
saying,
campaign? Is that what you're
yes,
talking? Okay.
yes. So I'm saying we were tone deaf on that particular issue. Then, as we all know, we learned a long time ago, you go to the party and you come back from the party with the people who brought you to the party, be they young adults. Hello there, my sister. Be there African American men and women, especially women, over 90%. Not just one run of elections, almost eight. I did the research, 8 runs of elections. Just think about let's go before Obama. Let's start with Clinton and take ourselves up to Harris. African American women have been the difference or the difference. And it came from and quoted by not only Biden, but also by Clinton, by Obama, that thank you so very much for African American women for bringing me to the finish line. So along the way, the Democrats said, we're the young folk. For years, they were saying we need to register young people. So when Harris decides to run, they decide they're going to try to appease the donors. And it's almost as if they could not do 2 things at the same time. It's as if we got grown people, intelligent, educated, highly educated individuals, learned individuals who were not able to understand that there were individuals who were young folk that we have been struggling the party, struggling to embrace, struggling to have a message for them. And then when we are in need, we say, well, we'll put them to the side for a minute, but the donors are over here about making money. And I agree. It's about money and votes. Anybody who has ever run for office know that it's about money and votes. But if you're going to run a program of any sort, if you're going to run for office, you got to know how to chew gum and walk at the same time. You got to raise money and you got to deal with policy. Last thing, we as Democrats, this is my particular area. We're still challenged on how to craft messages to the people who really want to be in the party. I mean, we're still trying to craft messages for young adults. We're trying to craft messages for African American females. We're trying to craft messages for seniors. And every day, we get up in the morning. I don't care who you are. At 6 in the morning a.m., at midnight, the only messages you hear, the only name you hear, we're not going to hear it right here, is the president's. The president's voice, the president's message, and the president's message by other people. Democrats feel them great. He has taken the air. If we talk about 25 for me, he took all the air, the positive plus air and learning information out of our lives. And here we are tonight trying to figure out what we need to do. And I'm saying it's not difficult. We need to get up before 6 o'clock in the morning and go to bed after 12 midnight with a message that speaks to the issues and the lifestyle of the people that believe in democracy and believe what the Democrats are pushing forward. That's what we need to do.
Reverend Dr. Hatch?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I mean, no, help me to understand, because they had these 5 main reasons for Harris's failure. And as we're looking at voter disenchantment, Biden's betrayal, his disastrous decision to run for reelection, and throwing out the primary season, remember? They ended that. Abandoning the working class base, the Gaza effect, ample evidence that Harris lost many votes, which goes to your point, your first point, Livonia, that Arab Americans were turned off and they decided to make the Democrats pay, and then losing young voters. So there is that. Reverend Dr. Hatch, I mean, and then you had a lot of, I mean, it wasn't the majority of black men, but it was enough of a chunk,
Between 18 and 19% of African American males
Yeah.
voted for Trump.
Yeah.
18%. All he said. Now, this is once again lessons learned. Remember, this report is a 224. If you go to 216, don't have to have a report. You could just see it. He told us between 216 and between 224 that all he needed was a nip. He said it, of African American men in order to win. Trump said that.
But can I give you the other piece?
Yes.
What he did before he launched his campaign in 2015 was go and meet with African Americans all around the country, because he has had relationships with people. You know this, Reverend Dr. Hatch. Our beloved Dwight McKee used to talk about it. And we've known him more than 40 years. He's had relationships with people a long time. I mean, relationships. So he went to black businessmen and women in particular and said, "What do you want? What are you looking for? What do you need?" Because remember, he was going to run on the Ross Perot. He was looking at that. He has never been a dyed in the wool anything. That's just not been it. And Roger Stone said when he ran for president, when he was thinking of running seriously this time, he said, your politics are not doctrinaire. You can bust this whole system, Donald. By the time you're done, there will be no more duopoly, because you're going to take people from both parties. He said, my disappointment is that he took the low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
You had Bernie, who's gotten the progressives. You had Hillary, who had the mainline Democrats and the women. And he then went for the nationalists, the white racists. He said, and if he had not done that, we'd be in a very different place. After I saw him say that on CNN, I never saw him on CNN anymore. Look, Bernie and his voters were toggling. They were torn between the two of them in 2016. Because people were
Yeah.
just looking for someone who was going to go in there and shake things up,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Reverend
And
Dr.
you,
Hatch.
yeah, I wrote a book in 2012, Project America.
Mm.
And what I saw then was that the Occupy Wall Street movement and Tea Party
Mm-hmm.
were flip sides of the same coin. And
Yes.
Yes.
it's why you can have voters for Obama, voters for Bernie, voters for Trump, all be the
Mm-hmm.
same people.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because I surmise that that the the people that we're talking about, the working class, the working poor, um, know that somebody has sold them out,
Mm-hmm.
has sold out the country. And that is, and so the Occupy Wall Street movement and the Tea Partiers were both saying the same thing. Somebody has sold out the country, sold out the working class. And so they've been trying to find somebody to throw a bomb up in the system
Mm.
since then. And that was what Trump's assignment was. Of course, he has turned out to be a very, that he's betrayed the people, and he's done it in less than a year that voted for him, because he himself has turned out to be the same type of corporate politician, of oligarch, uh, that of course people saw on the Democratic side, that they actually didn't represent the interests of the working people either. And so I think what we're in for is it's going to be very unpredictable. Again, very difficult to predict, because the old duopoly, the two-party system, is not necessarily going to give us the lens through which to explain the electorate anymore. The bottom line is nobody at this point is speaking for the working class and the working poor that find themselves at the bottom of the system, as the oligarchs strangle the economy. I mean, they control the economy, and now they control the politics. And so it is, it's despairing for people that are without power, as we hear, things being floated like a 50-year mortgage for a house,
Mm.
a 10-year installment contract for a car, the 42 being the age of the average first-time homeowner. I mean, this means that somebody's going to own all of the people almost all of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that, what we're seeing is a revolt. I think Mandami was a revolt. We're here in Chicago. Our mayor is probably Democratic Socialist
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
everything but name only,
Mm-hmm.
because it's where the people are. The people don't care what people call themselves today. That we're trying to figure out who is going to serve our interests at the bottom of this American empire. And so, but I think it's going to be increasingly unpredictable. I think we're in for some kind of major realignment where the old sort of categories don't necessarily work. So you did have African American men voted for Trump because he promised to throw a bomb in the system because they're left out,
Mm-hmm.
and then some of them are misogynist as well. They were never going to vote for a woman given the tensions in our community. And then, of course, you had Latino men the same way. You had leader influencers on the right that were stoking up male resentment for being left out of the whole economy and the progressive culture as far as they could see it. And so I just see it's going to be an incredible a time of instability in the politics to
Mm-hmm.
see how things shake out. When it comes to the Democratic Party, it's a corporate party, and
Well,
when it
let me
comes,
ask you this.
yeah,
Well, because you're bringing up, because we're coming into the 250th year of the constitutional republic. Um, do you think, is that to you like the just the overarching issue for 2025?
I do think that the republic is at a breaking point, the experiment, and that 26 is going to determine to some great extent whether this experiment is going to go forward.
Hmm.
as a democratic experiment. That's probably what, about 60 years old in and of itself.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think that this is going to be a breakpoint year. I'm really, in a way, as an observer, as a prophet, even, sort of excited to see 26 roll around. I think it's going to be pivotal.
I
To
would like to interject to say that 26, depending on who you are and what seat you sit in, Reverend, and others, is that for the regular person, the 250-year celebration means very little to them, in my humble opinion.
Mhm.
But for the donors, for the corporate heads, and for the people who have to and who are running for office in 2026, it is a very pivotal moment in time. They really are up against the wall because the people who are just trying to figure out how they're going to pay the health insurance that they were paying from last year was $800 to $1,500 in 2026. That's what they're really, really concerned about. Those are the voters. Now, remember, the same people that are over here today paying $800 for health insurance are the same people over here we're going to have to speak to and speak about and support who are paying $1,500. So their focus, if I'm based on class, and based on color, and based on where they are economically, 250, 250 years, 20 years, 30 years is really way beyond what they can really take in. So we're going to have, you're right, chaos at certain levels, because what we're going to, the party, the Democrat, if we're speaking about the Democratic Party, they have to understand that. So they have to craft their messages while they're celebrating 250 years, while they're running to stay in office, that they're going to take care of our cousins, our aunts, our uncles, our aunties, our children, our students that are in the community, that they're going to embrace affordability, that they're going to embrace housing, that they're going to embrace that everything they get up in the morning in Washington, D.C. will not have the big T on it, that we have arches and buildings blowing up. That's what they're looking at. See, it's real basic for basic people.
Mm-hmm.
Real basic for basic people. We can talk about the flags and the celebrations and all of that stuff. We can talk about how we're going to go after raising funds for our campaign. But Mr. Jones and Mrs. Jones, all they're trying to do is feed their children, stay healthy, and send their kids to school. That's it. So we have to speak to them if we're going to make a difference. If we're talking about making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
India, well, that resonated with India. I want to know why. Because the thing is, how many doors did you knock on when you ran for mayor?
30,000, something like that. But I mean, that's not, Buffalo's a small city. It's
But 30,000 is not.
I don't know.
I don't care where you're knocking on doors. 30,000 is 30,000.
I mean,
That's a lot of people.
That's what I'm just
A
trying
lot
to.
of families.
I mean, and because I think it's important for us to tell her story, because she preceded Mom Donnie.
Yes.
And Mom Donnie reached out to you because you did something that he then was able to replicate in New York. See, I'm not waiting for people to acknowledge India Walton. We need to acknowledge her ourselves and lift her up and see where you want to go next. So what made you, you are a registered nurse. What made you decide to run for office? I mean, you're not from a wealthy family. You
Nope.
what were you thinking?
The systems that are meant to support us were not working. Right. And as much pride as I take in being a nurse and took in being a nurse, I was there's only so much you can do at the bedside. And a lot of the issues that people face are systemic. You can't help a person cure hypertension or heart disease and tell them to have a healthy diet when there's no grocery store in their neighborhood. You can't tell people to get out and exercise when there's no green space or public facilities in their neighborhood. You can't expect to curb youth violence if there's nothing for the youth to do once they leave the schoolhouse. So I mean, I wanted to be a person that began to think about the root causes of the issues and go upstream to fix them. You can pull babies out the river all you want to, but until we keep them from falling in the first place, then we have an uphill battle.
So you just decided you were just going to knock on your neighbor's door? Is that what happened?
Well, our mayor sucked. He'd been in office for 16 years. He was a Black man, and we didn't see the material conditions in our community change after electing him. Term after term after term, things seemed to get progressively worse. And after the murder of George Floyd, his response was basically, pull up your pants and get off the corner if you don't want the police to gun you down. And I thought that was woefully insufficient. I was tired of seeing dilapidated homes in my community. I was tired of knowing that we had a childhood poverty rate over 50% in the city of Buffalo, and someone had to say something and do something.
So you just got out and started knocking on doors and talking about it?
Yeah, I got a team together.
Okay.
And we all got out and started knocking doors and talking about it and talking to people, and not coming to them with our solutions, but asking them what they thought the solutions were and what they needed and what they were seeing in their communities and in their neighborhoods and the type of leadership that they desired.
So I was trying to get somewhere with that, Livonia, because those are the kind of campaigns that we're accustomed to.
Yes.
While money is the mother's milk of American politics, you don't necessarily have to have the money. If you have the message and if you have the will to serve the people, they will respond to you. Because the more people heard you, India, the more people heard Zoran Mamdani and Omar Fateh, the more they began to believe, and they said, well, wait a minute. Maybe we can do this. And I'm wondering if that's like the story of 2025 and moving into 2026, Reverend Dr. Hatch, and then you, Livonia, and then you, India, if that might be the story going into the new year, as when people get that bill, when they find out what that health insurance is going to cost.
Mm-hmm.
What did you just say, Livonia?
It's right now the average is around $700 to $820. They say that around the average come next year is going to be about $1,500 per month
with deductibles.
With deductibles
that are on. I mean, Terry O'Neill, President Emeritus of NOW, said that her daughter and her husband,
yes,
are paying what, $1,400, $1,500 each, with $15,000 deductibles.
That's right.
I just don't think. Do you remember the movie Network, when Peter Finch's character said, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore"? Remember that?
Yes.
I'm just wondering,
yes,
Pastor Hatch, if we are not moving into that kind of moment.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that this administration's hubris is going to be its undoing. I mean, incredibly unwise politics of allowing the which was a compromise, by the way, the Obamacare subsidies to go away. I mean, it's not good politics on the part of the administration. And it's going to be a disaster for them, and people are going to see what the journalists have just shared, and it just by next month. I think it's very interesting. We've been in one of these moments before. Somebody said that history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. I mean, there are patterns. Most of the policies, like Social Security, I mean, most people don't know, if you get Social Security, which I do, a year in. I didn't know that
Mhm.
all this cool stuff happened, once you turn 66 and 67. But if you get Social Security, you are a socialist. Because in fact, that program was stolen from the Socialist Party. It was co-opted on the part of the Democratic Party. And the point is that, who if people, the winning strategy will be to co-opt these progressive socialist programs that really have the interests of the people, that makes the government serve the people, and whoever does that is going to get a lot of political support 25 and beyond. But the first thing that has to happen, one of the parties is going to have to get their heads out of the corporate butt, and see themselves as a servant of the people, and begin to present policies that in fact help people who are common people, who are working people, who are working poor, who are vulnerable. That's going to be the party that's going to energize the people ultimately.
Well, let's project into 2026. I mean, what do you see? I mean, because I think that Roots Action, it's like they didn't come to bury the Democratic Party, Livonia. They
No,
said,
no, no,
look,
not at all. Not
these,
at all.
these are the issues that
Right.
we
These are the
see.
issues, and one of the issues that they did talk about was that we did not handle the messaging of our wonderful programs in the party. We did not handle that well. In 2026, I'm going to go back and say it again, that if we are actually for affordability, if we are actually saying that a 50-year mortgage is insane, if that is the case, we as Democrats or progressives need to say that. We have to speak to the people about the issues that impact their day. So we don't have to have a study to figure it out. We figured it out right here. 50-year mortgage, a 10-year lease. Wait a minute. $1,000 per month for health care? We need to speak to the people and say that we are, if you send me to Congress, or if you send me to the state rep house or the House of Representatives in the local community, I will speak to the issue of your card note, just basic card note, or the
Mhm.
tuition for your kids to go to nursery school. Just use the words that speak to the
Or a house,
people.
right? you know.
Right. It's not, this is not brain surgery up in here. So even though we can, and I'm saying to the party who says democracy must be saved, you're going to have to walk and chew gum at the same time. Yes, you're going to
Mhm.
have to speak to the corporate donors. Yes, that's a fact. But you got to speak to Mr. and Mrs. Jones. You got to speak to their issues, and you got to know how to speak to them. And in the report, it did say that we did not speak to young adults. We didn't say we didn't address their issue. It did say we did not speak to the Arab Americans in terms of, that's not to say we agree with all of them. That's not what I'm saying. We're not saying you have to agree, but you at least have to acknowledge what is on the heart and mind and how you function every day. We did not speak to the African American women. We did not speak to their issue. And we knew this, Reverend, you know this. We knew that they were going after brothers. We knew that.
Mhm.
212 in your book, 215, 216. So all of a sudden we get to 224 and we're surprised, and we don't speak to it. We don't embrace the brother. We don't say we got your back. Surely you might feel disenfranchised, but trust me, we got to speak to why you feel disenfranchised, and we might have a nugget over here to help you out. Speak your truth, speak the truth, and speak to the people. That's what I think will make a difference in 2026. I want to say one more thing.
Mhm.
The brother who is sitting in the White House, we don't have to do anything with him. He's going to cause his own demise. That's something, that's a whole nother situation going on right here. I'm studying. I'm really into a deep study about how we got there with him and what's happening, and I'm seeing it unfold in front of my eyes. We're watching in real time the demise of a person. So that over there, what we need to do is shape up, speak to our people, and I want to say this to the people who are sitting, who look like me in Congress, who head up Congress. You got to say something when something happens. You cannot let a vote go past and not be the leadership, then looking like me from New York, and not say something about what the issues may be. Speak to the people. Trust me, the people will listen.
India, what's the path forward? Because these are real issues um, that are still here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're still trying to figure out um, Gaza, and now we've got Venezuela.
Mm.
I
You
mean,
know,
it just you
the
tell me. I mean,
blueprint,
going into 2026.
the blueprint exists, right?
Mhm.
It exists for the Republican Party and Project 2025. They're chipping away at it. They're taking away our rights. They're stripping us of our American civil liberties and sending us straight way into chaos and fascism. But on the other hand, you have this Sanders platform that included a jobs guarantee and Medicare for all, and we're watching 47 with the stroke of his pen
Mm-hmm.
reclassify marijuana, pardon pardon all kinds of terrible people, do just run rampant using his executive powers, where all of these years that I've been a voter, our president has been saying, well, we're not allowed to do that. We can't cancel student debt. We can't provide any relief to young people. We don't know what to do about the credit rating system and redlining. We don't know how to get, reclaim the wealth of the Black community, and reparations can't happen, and all these things are impossible. But one thing, if we take anything away from this administration, is that anything is possible. You just have to have the courage to do it. The man is not crazy. He's a sociopath, but he's not crazy. He has no political ideology. His political ideology is to enrich himself and to enrich the people who are going to make him richer,
But I mean,
right?
don't we need to look at? I mean, because what he has done, it's it's so beyond the president. His his vice president is about 40 years old. His bench they're very very young.
Yeah.
That so we keep looking at someone who's 80, not the 40-year-old and the 35-year-old and the 30-year-old and the 25-year-old.
I will
He
tell
has
you, I am afraid to death of something happening to Donald Trump, because JD Vance is going to be 10 times worse. I'll guarantee you that.
because we don't understand. He was installed by Peter Thiel.
That's right.
I
Yes.
mean, and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are setting up cities all around the country
Mm-hmm.
that will be run by corporations. Wait a
Mm-hmm.
minute, these are cities that will also add to a congressional district.
They are
This is very dangerous.
eugenicists. They're
Yes.
eugenicists. They're technocrats.
But that goes back to what India said earlier, that we need to look. We need to look at running for office, local
Mhm.
office. Number one, if I'm going on what you just said, because you got this party over here, they know the same thing. That is in the local offices, that they will be able to control anything and everything. Everything that your grandmother ever wanted, everything that your children ever wanted, anything and everything that you want. Your job, just a 9 to 5 job, will be dependent on some guys over here. But India in office locally, in numbers, India times 10 can hold that back. So my position is for 2026. Once again, energy should go, positive energy should go over
Mhm.
here. Vote for India times 10 in times 10 cities. See where I'm going? So our energy should be within the party to look at the individuals who are willing, able, and have the best interest of the citizens and support them and lay the groundwork and get a bench just like what they did. You just said it, Santita. They got a bench that's under 40 down there.
But but I also say go outside the party because Bernie Sanders caucuses with the Democrats.
Sure,
I
sure,
mean, and Mamdani will caucus with the Democrats.
sure.
We have to have people even adjacent because I think the politics are more fluid now. When you look
Mhm.
at the young people,
That's true.
they don't identify as Democrat or Republican.
That's
They
true.
stepped back and they saw Mamdani and they said, "Well, I don't care what party it is. What did you say again? Wait a minute. I won't
Mhm.
have to pay for the bus. Wait. Do you mean the rent is too high? What? Ho. Wait.
Yeah,
That makes sense to me.
and it's
Pastor?
and it's a lot of what Ma'am Dammy offered was aspirational. So it's not as if
Yes.
he's going to do everything that he talked about, but certainly you get the impression that he's going to work in the interest of the people in the system, and that there's a vision for what the country should look like. So there has to be a counter vision to Project 2025. And I mean, I think that we're already in a civil war. It's not necessarily a shooting war yet today, but it is two incompatible visions of the future.
Mhm.
Either we will balkanize and have a distinct a minority of people controlling the majority, or there's some aspirational sense of a democratic, diverse a system of something that has people in the margins brought to the center. That whole vision of what I call the kingdom of God, when the margins are brought to the center, the kingdom arrives. And so it'll be either or. It won't be. It'll be one or the other. These two visions of what the future are incompatible, and I think that's what the people are looking for. Somebody that's going to offer, or somebody's, or a group of people, or a
Mhm.
party of collaborators who offer that alternative vision from where the country is headed now. I wanted to add another uh, identified to your India when we were mentioning Peter Thiel. These are eschatologists.
Mm.
They actually have a vision of an
Mhm.
end game.
Mhm.
Where most of humanity is obsolete. This
Mm-hmm.
is very dangerous, and it needs to be engaged. And I think people are looking for some people that are really ready to fight for
Yes.
alternative vision
Yes.
once it's offered.
Well, you've got to talk about it because they feel that there's 6 billion too many people on Earth. They feel that there's only
Yes.
billion people, and there are 8 billion of us here, and
Yeah.
so
And
and
let
then
me just
we-
say this: so you can't have a conversation with people about healthcare when they already have decided that most of us don't deserve to live. Let's not live healthy lives.
Some of us, though, because on the one hand, they're concerned about the earth being overpopulated. And then on the other hand, they're concerned that white birth rates are down.
That's right.
Yes.
As
okay.
they invite our white South Africans to
Mm-hmm.
America.
Yes.
They don't
Yes.
That's
invite them. They
that's a
have greased.
promotion.
Fast
They have
tracked.
greased the wheels because we question Venezuelans and Haitians, but not Ukrainians.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
so I think we've got some things we've got to look at right here. You know what? I literally have 1 minute for you, Livonia, 1 minute for you, India, because I'd like to give a couple of minutes to Pastor Hatch to give us a Christmas word. How about
Sure.
that? But
Well,
Livonia,
I'm gonna go for 30 seconds. One, I think that we should, we meaning people who are really supporting democracy and want this country to be an inclusive country, should speak our truth, should listen to others, and should speak to the issues of other folk and try to help as best we can. We don't have to be running for office. We can volunteer. We can put money in someone's campaign. We can come on radio shows and speak our truth. Thank you very much. Everyone can do something to make a difference in their community.
India, Walter from Roots Action.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been so great to share space with you all. Santita, always thank you so much for platforming me. Auntie Livonia, I can't wait to get back to Chicago and see you both. Reverend Hatch, it's been great spending time with you. But as always, I'll end with organize. Organize, 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 organize your mama, your auntie, go to the library, in the line at the grocery store. Tell everybody about what's going on, because people are not always as well educated as we are, but people want to know. People want to be informed, and they want to know what they can do. So continue to organize and just love on one another.
Well, you know, Pastor Hatch, in the spirit of Jesus, who was an organizer, who came here to show us another way, not just the way that, you know, to love one another. He said, no, to be just. No, you should stand up to an occupying power. No, you shouldn't. He came here to show us, no, you shouldn't be treated this way. Not better, you need to be treated the right way. And so, Pastor Hatch, why don't you kind of tie all this up for us?
Well, my favorite Luke chapter 2 this season is that first verse begins with the name of the most famous man in the world 2,000 years ago, an empire that covered 3 continents, Caesar Augustus. Everybody knew him. They even knew what he looked like because his face was on the coin. And then later in that chapter, we meet a baby that nobody but his close family and his close villagers knew. That was wrapped, we say, in swaddling clothes, really wrapped in rags. My dad was an old country preacher, said he was in the barn and the oxen had to breathe on him to keep him warm. But 2,000 years later, we'd have to explain to people who Caesar Augustus was. But the whole world knows that Jesus came out of his environment and transform the world and transform the hearts and minds of people. So when we fight, we can win. That's the point. And so the emperor has come and gone, and this one is going to come and go. But our cause is righteous, and our power, the power of our love and our community, will help us overcome as we organize, Sister India.
Amen. You know, Jesus was a freedom fighter. Amen, amen, amen.
Amen, amen.
And God loved us so much that God sent his only begotten Son here to show us the way to our freedom, the way to loving each other, the way to loving ourselves, and into believing ourselves. He said, look, I can show you greater things, but you're not ready. Come on, everybody. It's time we need to get ready. Come on. Merry Christmas, everybody. That is
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Have a
Christmas.
wonderful year. Thank you so very much, Santita.
Thank
God
you.
bless.
And for our brothers and sisters of many other faiths, I pray that the spirit of Christmas will be with you in this holy season. For our Jewish brothers and sisters, as you celebrate this festival of light, may God bless you. For the brothers and sisters in the African diaspora, as we go into Kwanzaa, may God bless you. That having been said, this is a religious holy day. And I want to stay right there for a minute. And I want to thank God for Jesus and for the example, for someone who loved us so much that he didn't care the cost. He said, I'm here to set you free. Follow me. Don't worship me. Follow me. We've got some work to do. May God bless you, everybody. AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. I am Santita Jackson.